Hello FIGGIE fiends and collectors, this is me, Daniel1000, back again with another Star Wars The Black Series figure review. Today we're going to be having a look at a exclusive figure. I believe this was exclusive to Walmart, although I could be completely wrong because I lose track of where all these exclusives comes from, mainly because I'm not from the US, and for most collectors outside the US, we source our exclusives online. In particular, this one I got from In-Demand Toys. This is none other than IG-11, and I have to admit I did pay a little bit more than I would have liked to for this, although I can't really use that against the figure itself because that's partially my own fault. But for this one, I really wanted it because I like IG-11. IG-11 is a character from the Mandalorian TV series and is played by the brilliant Taika Waititi, who not only voices the character but directs a couple of the episodes from The Mandalorian. Just very, very funny, and it's no exception to what the character's like in the show. First things first, the packaging. We'll get this out of the way pretty quickly. It's a standard affair, standard issue stuff. The figure sits in the ball there, so you can actually have a look at it, see what you're getting. A nice picture of IG-11 there as well, drawn by Gregory Titus. You've got IG-11's name there as well. No number because this is an exclusive. And on the back, you've got a nice picture again by Gregory Titus and a bio on the character itself. Ton of legal garb. That's pretty much the packaging. One thing I will say about the packaging, like I always say in my reviews for Black Series figures, I like how the fact that you can open them up, take your figures out, and if you do want to restore them, the box is always there for you if you so decide to keep it. If you don't want to keep it, it's your figure, it's your way of life, you do you. That's the packaging out of the way and done with. Onto the figure itself, and straight off the bat, basically a straight up repaint of IG-11. This is from, because it is literally the same figure to a certain degree, I'm going to get the names mixed up. This figure is a repaint of IG-88. Hopefully I've not made a balls up in the previous part, but we'll run with it. This guy, it's got more copper paint apps on it than the IG-11. I did it again, IG-88. It's going to be a long one today, guys. That's part of the reason why it's a bit like, shouldn't have paid as much as I really should have for it, but again, it's the character, I like it, and was the main reason why I took a punt on it, really. The only thing that really differentiates this as well, aside from the paint apps from IG-88, is the bandolier, and that's got some ammo pouches there and some thermal detonators on the back as well. The cool thing about the bandolier is we go into the accessories. He comes with two blasters, which are exactly the same blasters that come with IG-88. Although I can't really complain about that because, if I'm not mistaken, this character had these blasters in the show as well. So anyway, you can take the blaster and it actually can slot into the back pouch on the bandolier, which is very, very nice. It's a cool thing that it can do that if you did just want the figure wielding one blaster. I have to say, both blasters have got some really nice weathering on them, some silver paint chipping kind of effect going on both, which is nice. And that's really it in terms of accessories. It's also worth noting, much like the IG-88 figure, the blasters that the figure comes with only fit in the hands that they're accommodated for. So if you just take the blaster off, there's a peg, and each blaster has a little peg hole. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. The blasters have a little peg hole, and they just slot in to the respective hands. This one, the larger blaster, the stock or the peg hole is further back in the stock, so yeah, it's suited for this hand, whereas the small one's more suited for this one just because the peg hole's closer to the hand. It's not a big issue at all, but it's just a thing. So yeah, that's the accessories. I feel like my fingers are getting in the way of the detailing, so I'll try and give you guys a better look at him. Just lots and lots of cool details, lots of greebling on him. So in terms of articulation, this one's kind of an interesting one. So it has a swivel head, ball hinge shoulders. Ball hinge is kind of sat inside this shoulder plate here, so that shoulder plate swivels along with the ball joint, and then there's a hinge in the elbow. It only moves to a certain degree just because there's a rubber bit of pipe in there, which on my IG-88, which I don't actually have on me at the moment, that's started to deteriorate. So learning from that figure, I'm not going to bend it and do too much articulation with this guy, just because they do deteriorate over time. So if you have got this figure or are planning to pick it up, bear that in mind. That aside, they do swivel as well. He has a ab crunch in the torso. His torso does, I don't know if it's meant to rotate. Yeah, it does rotate a little bit. Some of the doodads do get in the way of him though. He has swivel hips, a swivel at the top of the thigh, and then one singular bend in the knee. It does look like there would be double hinged knees, but they're not. It's just one. They're kind of locked in place for some reason. That's something they decide to do on this figure. And then finally, swivel at the top of the foot and a hinge. So to be perfectly honest, I think this guy is a little bit over articulated. It does make standing this guy an absolute nightmare. My IG-88 was pretty good, but this one I think got a bit of a bad copy, to be perfectly honest with you, just because this leg, I don't know if you can see that, but it's a little bit warped. So trying to get this guy to stand on my shelf is a nightmare, absolute nightmare, but nonetheless it's still a solid figure. And again, it was the main reason why I wanted this was just because of the character, who's probably one of my favourites from the show. So yeah, there's not really much else I can say about him other than give you a word of caution about, if you can look, see if those legs are straight, and second of all, those elbow joints, the piping covering those, just be wary of that when you get your figure, because they do rip. But aside from that, personally I would have liked to have seen this be a pack-in with Quill, the Ugnaught that we meet in the TV series. That would have made a pretty great 2-pack. Something I would have really liked to have seen as well. I don't know if they would have been able to do it, but in the show, or the first episode, IG-11 keeps saying about self-destructing, and I really would have loved to have seen, even if they wouldn't have included the ab crunch there, is if they had like a flip down thing where you could see the thermal detonator inside the chest. I think that would have been pretty damn awesome and would have given this something a bit more unique to this character or figure. So yeah, it's a little bit disappointing they didn't include that. I wasn't expecting it, to be honest, but yeah, after seeing that episode and receiving this, I was a bit like, that would have been something cool if they'd included that. But alas, this is what we've got. I'm not sure how hard to come by he is at the moment, but this was one that I just had to snap up, even though I'm a little bit miffed at some of the little defects, but I'm still happy with it. Just a word of caution to you guys if you are thinking of picking this guy up. So yeah, let me know what you think. Have you picked IG-11 up? Have you experienced the similar sort of problems that I have with it? Let me know in the comments below. And this is me, Daniel East 1000, signing out, and thank you very much for watching.